I always play the cool, smart, attractive caster analyst.
Unless like a 12-year-old girl on the stream's like, I like Loco.
Oh my god, the girl's so cute. Who the fuck is this girl? Thank you to Paya Joy. Loco is cute. I used to have a crush on him. Sylvia. Oh my god.
Yahoo!
And then you're like literally bouncing off the walls like a fucking guy made out of plasticine or something. Like, oh my god, Mom, get the camera. You don't like me now. Oh my god.
It's only been 1 minute and Loco's already getting hard flamed.
That's how I warm up for the show. It's sort of like, a Brushnikov technique. Here's the thing I have to give him credit for. At least he knows what sells, because half the time the intro to these episodes is shit that I say before. And the editor just puts it in because it's funny. So, like, actually, a lot of the pre-show flame is actually the beginning intro, like the teaser or whatever. And it's because people sometimes say, like, where was that in the episode? It's like, there wasn't. It's just, I was talking shit. Right, this is going to be episode 68 of Listen Loco. Just going to warn everyone at the top of the show, I am on hotel Wi-Fi, so there may be occasional drops. But occasional drops, that's what happens when you're in Europe, Sometimes you fuck around, you drop the odd game. You don't care, though. As long as Worlds comes along, you win. Is it dropping now? Is it literally dropping right now?
It was.
I got paranoid for no reason. It was. Right, there we go. Just like EU, I was dropping shit, yeah. Right, so on this episode... Wait there one sec. Our guest is who is the analyst for Team Liquid. You may know him for some of his greatest tweets, such as that they had the top 2 bot lane at MSI.
Which we did.
There's a whole bunch of other ones. What were some other good ones? I think one was that, well, here's the funny thing, Kiz, you're going to like this one, because another one of the ones that people love to wreck you about was when you said that in spring, you thought the top 3 of NA was better than the top 3 of EU. Now, I don't know if anyone's aware of this, but Papa Smithy himself, about a week ago, admitted he basically thought G2 was the best, but overall the top 3 in NA was better than the top 3 in EU in spring. So it just shows, as usual, I've told people this with LS and Papa, it's all just about who you are and how you present it. Like, the thought itself, like, if Azael says something in the way he would say something, it could just be accepted as like, oh, interesting opinion. If someone comes out, someone on this show perhaps, and says it in a bit more of a vitriolic fashion, people may attack them like a heretic and attempt to destroy them. But that never happens on this show. So don't listen to the reputations of any of us on this show. We're all good guys deep down. I'm not really, but whatever. Keep saying that. Here's the question.
I have some bad moments, yeah.
I don't know that you are the Local, because here's the thing. If anyone saw that clip, sadly, it's way back on my Twitter timeline now. But if you just Google, Twitch, Locodoco acts like 11-year-old who just got looked at by a 12-year-old or something. There's a clip where Loco's watching some fucking this is the thing I don't understand what they do, but there's girls who aren't actually singers or dancers, but they, for funsies, they just learn the actual dance of K-pop groups, and then we do this, and then I sarangi and all this shit, right? And then they think they're oh, this is really cool, isn't it? It's not really. You are literally acting like a bunch of people who themselves get paid nothing to do that and are just singers and you're not. So anyway, Loco, for whatever reason, was watching this because that's what he does with his life. Exactly. Fuck his life. And when he was watching it, calls one of the girls, he was like, she's cute. He was like a fat guy looking at a bucket of KFC. He's looking And then the worst thing is, for some reason, Blastoise. Now I know why Blastoise came on this show. He's Local's boy or something, even though he works for Riot, he's
we're tight.
He's the good one at Riot. He's the token good guy at Riot, to make the rest of them being evil average out somehow, exactly. So, and then he just messages Loco oh my god, she thinks she's cute. And then Loco literally thought it was fucking a miracle on 34th Street, and he was a little kid getting some on Christmas. Oh my god, la la la!
What? That's such an over exaggeration. I was oh cool, I think she's cute too. Yeah. And then I moved on with my life. And then the best thing was, whatever you did in the video, inside you probably still were thinking, "That's right, Loco, play it cool. Don't want to come on too strong. Not like last time." Anyway. Yeah. Speaking of coming on too strong, like last time, Kiz, before we get into this topic, we have to address some of the old tweets because people want to know where were you coming from with some of this. What was that? So first of all, first thing we want to know right at the top is, did you sex any of those tweets up? Did you purposely make them in a way that you would
it would attract attention. Like you could be like I say, Papa Smithy did a tweet. He'd do it like in a very like he'd put all caveats in and disclaimers. Did you try to sort of stoke the fires a little bit?
No, I just kind of speak my mind. I'm not really afraid to make aggressive tweets if I actually believe them and I have like truth behind them. And I think people in NA are just too PR focused. So, yeah, all my tweets are just natural. Like I'll tweet them out whenever I think. Okay. So.
Yeah, I relate to that. Similar with me. Right, so here's the question then. Just a couple of the greatest hits. If we ask about that first one, right, going into MSI, if you think about it, right, you had LCK was thought to have maybe the best bot lane in the world. LPL, I personally think IG's bot lane's a bit overrated, but I know people think they're very good players. They're a triple threat team. In EU, obviously, the way that G2 had smashed EU looked really impressive. Even if you go to like Flash Wolves, like in theory, their bot lane's one of the better parts of their teams. People thought, right, your comment that like TL had a top 2 bot lane at the tournament, that's to a lot of people, you were getting memed on a lot. I mean, I know obviously Doublelift had never been out of a groups in an international tournament. Yeah. What was can you give us kind of the background? What were you thinking in making that comment? How did you make that ranking?
I mean, I thought SKT's bot lane, we held them in really high respect. And then in terms of IG, like they never played around their bot lane. Their bot lane was more of a role play team. Like they just played their own role. And personally, having scouted IG for a year and a half, I knew exactly how we should be approaching them. And that Battleland is actually like he's not as good as everyone makes him out to be. No. Like this guy
he's also
really.
A guy, by the way, he benefits so much from the fact that he has so many godlike players on his team that teams just like give him Rakan and stuff. It's mental. It's one of those players where it reminds me of like the Ole scenario. It's like, why do people give this guy his champion?
Yeah, it's like so. I really in isolation their bot lane. Like the reason Perks thinks their bot lane is so good, is because they play like aggressive monkeys. Whereas like if you saw like Core today and Doublelift are like reviewing how IG play their bot lane, and we are like, how are these guys even like playing the game? But so I thought we had a way better bot lane than IG, and they didn't play around them either, and that was our strength, our bot lane. Like Doublelift is really good when he's peaking, and then Core JJ is like I think one of the best supports in the world, personally. Like he plays around Fog better than any support I think I've ever seen, and he does so much to help with the vision game. So I just really thought that was our strength, and if people thought that tweet was like aggressive, then armchair.
Sure. Like I will say, I don't know if I thought it went up again. I will just say, by the way, I didn't like agree with you outright, but I did basically say I didn't think that was ridiculous. Like Loco can back me up because I even said I thought it wasn't unreasonable to say that like TL's bot lane was better than G2's potentially. I think IG was. I think I also said SKT was the only one that on TV should be better overall. And obviously everyone lost their mind because they were like, Doublelift, he is just a meme, isn't he? It's like no,
G2's bot lane's really good. G2's bot lane's really good. Like
what about that then? How did it actually work out overall? Like your pre-tournament expectations, what do you think the bot lanes in the tournament were like after playing them? Because obviously you did finish top 2.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we at least had a top 3 bot lane. I really think G2's bot lane plays mechanically well, but it's really easy to play good in bot lane when your top laner's just smashing it, your jungler's like in the right location every single point, your mid laner's smashing it. Like Perks, it's really hard to judge him because he's playing on like god tier players every other
he's
role.
On a super team, yeah.
Yeah, it's like he's just like he's chilling in bot lane. He's like 0-0 down 10 CS, but like I guess my top laner's 3-0. So it's like really easy to play AD carry in those situations. But we do think their bot lane's really good. Like Perks, sure he has a lot of moments where he like runs it down, positions like a mid laner, but he is at least testing his limits. So we think they're really good. I still think we were a top 2 bot lane at that tournament.
Okay, and then being as the other statement I mentioned obviously does sort of allude to Rift Rivals because Tiva's the top 3. What made you think in spring that LCS was better? Because I'll set it up like this case. Most people would say that. Am I lagging it, by the way?
A little, but
a little bit.
The reason why people just tell me if I cut out basically. Yeah. I'll repeat. But the reason why most people would have said that's a ridiculous statement, like I'll tell you again. I was vaguely on your side in as much as when we had the Origin coach on in spring, I even told him to his face, I thought Team Liquid would be Origin and that you had a better bot lane than his. And obviously he was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, trust me, he was here. He bet $170 on my dinner a couple nights ago. The bet was if EU swept NA at Rift Rivals in the best of 5, I would buy him dinner no matter the cost anywhere. And then if we picked up one win, he would buy me dinner. So, of course, I brought him out to BOA.
Okay.
Yeah, I went out to BOA Steakhouse and ran up his wallet. So I put a dent in Andre's little little pocket there, but
but here's the thing: the reason why that's I do think that one was a provocative statement is because obviously the main thing everyone criticizes LCS for is you guys do tend to just play team fights. Like there's very little actual split pushing. There's very little 1-3-1, 1-4 even. Like half the time it is just you go. That's why everyone jokes there in Rayram. You know, it's not even just a joke. It's kind of a grain of truth. So people thought, well, Europe has the solution to that. Like a very good split pushing team is oftentimes going to be able to destroy that. So what was the logic as to why you had NIF so highly ranked at the time?
I didn't think Fnatic were performing at like their peak level at the moment, which I think Cloud9 and TSM were peaking towards whenever I made that tweet.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And then I didn't think Origin. I think TSM were better than Origin at the time as well. So, like, realistically, I thought G2 was the best team in the West, and then our bulk 3 was better than theirs. But the reasons for it is I thought TSM were playing around their solo lanes really well at the time, like towards the end of spring. Like, Acadian was sacrificing camps to play for laner tempo, which is, I think, how you should play the jungle right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, that was basically it. And then Fnatic did not look as strong whenever I reviewed their games, so... Yeah, that was the main reasons behind it. And of course, Veteran retweets it like 4 months later and sends his whole EU army at me. Like, I'm getting like so many comments, and I'm just like, what? Hello? That was 4 months ago? Can we take it into context?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to defend you on this. So the bot lane stuff I disagree on, and like the bot lane stuff, it was so fucking whack because everyone thought SKT bot lane was gonna be best, and I think looking back, they were actually the worst bot lane. They actually had the worst.
They misplayed the lane completely, didn't they?
They misread it. Yeah. So in the context of things, like your tweet came out to be true, but I'm sure when you meant it, you meant SKT1 and TL2, and in that sense, it was wrong. TL was 2 maybe, but SKT was definitely not 1. So
yeah, they didn't play that well that tournament.
Mm-hmm. And then now let's talk.
By the way, I will also say, unfortunately, because listen, obviously, in a scenario like let's face it, it is fun to make fun of people. It causes like making fun of people. The premise goes like
we made a career out of it.
Like yeah. Here's an example, right? If we were making fun of you in the way they did, right? The reason it would be funny is because I would be basically signaling to Loco, haha, look, me and you are not like this guy who in some ways is not as good as us. Haha, isn't that funny? That's the premise, right? So someone has to get wrecked in that scenario. But I will say, because people get addicted to like dunking on people and like, haha, this guy's always wrong, isn't he always the idiot? They will go way too far, twist things. Like even the context is like probably the worst I've ever seen, because Reddit has
Duncan, start over.
They now believe it and have changed their own memory. Remember? Right, wait there a second.
Okay, let it catch up.
Tell me where I dropped off.
Yeah, you were talking about Reddit. Go again.
Just repeat that entire point.
Right, basically, if you remember, there was a classic scenario way back. It was in season 3, and it was
you're lagging too much.
Well, wait there a second.
Okay.
What's stupid is this? The internet was working so good for like 10 minutes a minute ago.
Okay. All right, you're fine now. Yeah, try now.
Right. So when Gambit went to Worlds in season 3, infamous Genja, legendary AD carry who was known for unusual builds and like his own way of playing the game. Are you even there right now?
Yeah, we're listening.
You're good.
Oh, right, sorry. Yeah. So what he did was, everyone might remember, at the tournament, he played Cogmore and he played it with Trinity Force, remember? And Doublelift criticized him on the desk and was like, this is garbage, it doesn't work, whatever. And the problem is, Doublelift was correct. Even though Genja won that game over like MVP or something, he was correct. Doublelift was right. At the time, it's not that Trinity Force was terrible, it's just there was way better builds. And so it was like an inefficient build, it didn't make sense. Now, cause later, Riot like nerfed something else, which in context made the Trinity Force stronger. Everyone started playing Trinity Force on Cogmore. So everyone was like, haha, see, Time Lord Genja, he knew it and Doublelift was wrong. And it's like, but Doublelift wasn't wrong. Like at the time Doublelift said it, he was absolutely right. Genja was absolutely wrong. Like that's an example where people just want to dunk on you because it's funny, but like it's not right. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
Like anyone can just lie and dunk on someone, can't they? Like what's the point in that?
I call those armchair analysts.
So,
well, that's the thing. I noticed that people were trying to wreck you for that because they were like, but aren't you an armchair analyst? It's like, no, Yachi's a real analyst.
He's getting paid by a team. Yeah.
In case anyone was confused on the distinction there between them sat at home, eating going, I think they should have drafted Kennen. He actually gets paid. Draft Sona Taric. Shit. All right. Do I still get paid? Good. There's the difference. It's subtle, but.
So going back to Case's tweet and the context of it, in spring, TSM was clicking really well. Broken Blade looked amazing. Broken Blade was doing so well. Jungle Meadow was also really different. It was a lot about Rek'Sai and Jarvan, and Acadian was having great performances. He was gelling really well with the team. So TSM overall was so much better back in spring than they are now. But yes, if you look at the tweet after Rift Rivals where NA got fucking smashed, Cloud9 had miserable performance, TSM had a miserable performance, then of course.
But Cloud9 were also literally in the hospital. Some of their players were in the hospital during the week of the games. They were going to take the tournament seriously. They didn't have an off day. They practiced on Monday, but food poisoning sucks. I don't really know. They say that's an excuse, but physically Sneaky couldn't play the game, so they're playing Blabber mid.
Okay, right. The first thing we have to talk about is this. Right, Kays, everyone says generally, NA and EU players, who cares about Rift Rivals? It's just a stupid for fun tournament, if we win, yeah, whatever, if we lose. In theory, as a result, the vibe is supposed to be, cause you don't care, try some different comps or try running something funny. And obviously, it's hard to tell when someone like G2 is doing that because they do it anyway. But, you saw a lot of the EU teams clearly were doing that. Some of them weren't, try hard in the fuck out of the draft or, as you saw, even, do you think... Did the NA teams generally try hard, do you think? Team Liquid looked like they were.
We tried hard. I think Fnatic is not a fuck around team. I think they're going to try hard because I know them personally from working with them.
That's something to prove as well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they wanted to win. C9 wanted to win, but health limited their TSM wanted to win. So yeah, I would say the NA teams generally tried hard. It makes no sense for the NA teams not to try hard since this is probably the best practice you're going to get, relative to playing against I don't know another NA scrim. So it makes the EU teams are more incentivized to just mess around, but the NA teams definitely took it seriously, or from from my perception, from my perspective.
Because one thing along these lines I thought we could talk about is that aspect initially, Loco. What do you think if you have a tournament like this? Should you play it just for the fans and make it an exhibition, the All-Star game at the NBA, where you don't play defense and you throw alley oops for each other and you just try to show off and do crazy shit, or do you think you should actually play it like a real tournament?
The best case scenario is G2 where you control and it doesn't really mean anything and your team's already in such a good place where you control and not really lose anything, not get community hate. But for NA teams, they're in a position where they had to try hard. If NA took this as a joke, we would have gotten fucking wrecked in the tournament even harder, and we would have gotten wrecked in terms of community. So
what did TSM and C9 go 1-8?
Yeah, oof.
That wasn't good.
They won one game
I think it was just TSM beat Fnatic, right? Wasn't that it?
Yeah. So, yeah, they have to try harder. It's going to be worse than that.
Yeah.
Sure. Because I have a take on that, actually. Basically, on the one hand, if a team chooses to say, I only consider this a fun tournament, I'm just going to play for fun, that's fine. But what my problem is when they then imply oh, but you're tryharding. It's well, I am, but I'm also allowed to do that. For example, maybe I'm not G2. Maybe I have something to play for. I want to show my fans I'm good. I want to show I can beat EU team. I think it's totally legit if you want to try hard. If the other person chooses not to, that's their choice as well. But they are then choosing to potentially lose the game. Now, to be fair, there's an upside to not try harder, which is if you just troll and then win the game, you do look extra baller. There's an element to which it works out too. But I do think people were being a bit silly by being salty, why should they try hard? It's well, what if they'd have trolled and then lost all the games? You'd have just hated on them 10 times harder.
Yeah, I made a tweet about that. We were in a lose-lose scenario. If we win, it's oh, they were trolling. If we lose, it's ha 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 ha, you lost the troll shit. Oh. So it's it was a lose-lose scenario that G2 put us in when they're just locking in Bard and random other stuff. But that's actually how they play. They troll every game, in my opinion. So that's not even troll. That's how they play the game. I actually think they're better when they play unique picks than they do on standard.
So I think
that's why G2's so hard to the reason G2's good is because it's so hard to draft versus them because they're so flexible. It's not even that their macro is obviously good and they punish really hard. But it's more so they get advantageous drafts just because they can play so much stuff in any role.
I think
so. They're always
play comps you've never played before.
Yeah.
Some of the G2 comps are full out troll, but when they do unique picks and they base the whole comp and the whole comp makes sense. I don't think them doing Zoe Bard is troll. I think Joey Bard, from how they played it, it can definitely be a legitimate lane. But when they do stuff like Joey Bard, and then we're also going to have a jungle Pyke on top of this, and Lucian's going mid. Like, Lucian going mid, maybe it was cuts for the swap, but there are aspects to their comp that is legitimate, that is tryhard, and sometimes they make the whole comp complete, and sometimes they just go full out troll.
Yeah.
I also think as well, if you want to add in another element there, like, this is the problem. So obviously, as someone who's a fan of League and thinks of past years when it was a different game, a totally different type of meta, they're going to think, well, then why does G2 do it? Like, wouldn't they be even better if they just played Standard? And actually, I agree with you, Kiz. I think they wouldn't be. I think if they played Standard, so basically how Origin plays, I think they would be the best team in Europe, but they'd be slightly the best team in Europe. Well, if you look at the way they play, because they seem to have, obviously, I'm gonna kind of speculate here. I think some of their macro players are intuitive. I don't really think they've planned some of that shit and that they actually have like some next level like blackboard with X's and O's. I think they just have a bunch of players who know how to play well together, and they got lucky with the chemistry. So as a result, I actually think it's an advantage to them that they play all these weird comps. Because it means when you play against them, you don't know what their power spikes are, when they're going to attack, what they're going to do. But because they just have that really great, like almost playmaking sense from so many players, they get an advantage out of the fact that they also haven't run it. Like they can just do a bunch of shit that no one can expect.
They're the best team in the West. They're the best team in the West for sure. Even though their record might not show it in the LEC, like they're for sure the best team. Like, Fnatic and us, I would say, are the closest to them, and then I think there's a gap, and then I think Origin's there. And Andre's, I know he's going to be tweeting at me right after this, so that's why you owed me dinner.
Why do you think Origin's not up there?
I just think they're just not playing as well. Like their soul lanes, like they're really good, but I just think they're underperforming at the moment from what I've seen. But yeah,
I would agree. Basically, aside from Patrick, at the moment, even though a bunch of their players have been very, very good players, none of their players feel like pop-off players. Like they just have okay games and they win as a team. It's like they don't have players that I would be putting as like the MVP candidate right there.
Yeah, I mean, their players are like they have all the pieces to win and succeed. Because I know Alfari is like so good, and same with Nuke Duck. Like they have the players to actually win. They just need to start performing better. Which they'll turn it around. I still think they're going to make Worlds. So,
by the way, just cause like it's in my contract, at some point in the show, I have to attempt to alienate the whole fan base of people who actually like to watch the show. So I'm just going to say, dear TSM and Cloud9 fans, it doesn't make sense that on the one hand, your teams did try hard, and then you all secretly believed, like Locodoco, that Team Liquid wasn't the best team in NA. So now
when did I say that?
Now that your team's lost and Team Liquid won, you want to say it was just a for-fun tournament and who cares anyway. So how does that work? Team Liquid won those games. You didn't.
TL was definitely the best performing North American team. Like, I don't think I have any disagreements on that, and I don't think anyone in NA can disagree on that.
But I mean coming into the tournament, you had like TSM or C9 as the best team in NA.
TL, like, here's my thing about TL. TL reminds me of Golden State Warriors, and like what this tournament proved to me is TL and LCS is fucking bored. TL and LCS sometimes seem even unmotivated.
You have no idea. We have like all veterans.
Yeah. TL is
half our meetings are talking about half of our meetings, I'm not even joking, are talking about how can we motivate. Like we literally spend like an hour a week as staff talking about how can we like create artificial motivation.
So, I feel like a lot of times when I see just purely watch LCS, I guess without the context of it, then I would probably say at times like TL doesn't look like the best team. And then we watch tournaments like this, like Rift Rivals, like we get to playoffs, we get to MSI, and TL actually turns it on, then they're a completely different team. So TL, I don't think it's that wrong to think underrate TL, because they make you underrate them by not playing so well in LCS.
They don't play as well, yeah.
They're a very on and off team.
Yeah, I mean, happens.
And I'll also say as well, like the player I think is the most noticeable is Jen. It's not a joke. This guy, when he goes to international play, is like 1.5 times better. It's ridiculous. I don't know why. It's because in LCS he just chills, doesn't he? He's like, he's all right. He's never the best mid, and then he just goes 1.5 times better when he goes versus people he actually thinks are better than him, always good, and he wants to challenge himself. He's just one of those players who has to get himself up for it, I feel like.
Yeah, I think that's just human nature. Like humans are naturally lazy, so they're just going to put in the minimum amount of effort to win. So it's always about just creating an atmosphere where you have to put in more effort, basically.
By the way, we've mentioned many times in the past, like, you know, one of the amazing things if you see G2's success, right, is like every interview, like they're not actors, so like at this point I actually believe them. They do love in playing League of Legends, other, but I have said this to Loco. If you think about it, in contrast to your etc., they have a whole bunch of players, basically except Perks, who weren't winners. These weren't LEC, these weren't champions. Even Perks is role swapped, and so has his own reason to be super motivated to prove everyone that he's good. And then that's another reason I actually think these picks are helping them, because they've created this culture in the team where anything's possible. You can do that. That's actually, I think they would also get like more complacent, more bored if they did that sense.
I mean,
motherfucker.
Go ahead.
I think G2 have like the perfect. I think G2 have like just the perfect storm of like people wanting to prove themselves, and then also talent, and also culture. Like they just fit together really well. Like Yankos wants to win. Caps is like trying to prove Fnatic wrong. Perks is role swapping, and Perks from everything I've heard, is like a super motivated player. Mickey X, I don't think he's ever won before this year as well.
No.
So, and then Wonder. So, I mean, like they just have a perfect storm, I think, and they're also a really good team, and they're well coached, and they have a good analyst. So.
So
there's a good team.
By the way, speaking of which, that is one thing that is making it. I'll make a video or an article on this at some point in time, like the whole Perks dilemma, because I've talked about other aspects of it. Like I agree with you. Like if you just look at the rest of where the strengths elsewhere are and the matchups they get, like I would love to be in his position if I was a fucking AD carry. But even more so than that, dude, every time, like just go look at the international game. Mickey X is so ridiculously good as a lane support. This guy's fucking playmaking is out of this universe. Like I've never seen anything in a Westerner that is comparable to this. Like I've seen like, you know, Mad Life, fucking Classic Matter, like the really sick Korean support players. Like this guy's comparable in terms of his fucking mechanics and his like.
I think he's better than those.
Making vision.
I think Mata and Core JJ are way better at playing around Fog and Vision, but Mickey X is better mechanics for sure.
I've never seen a Bard play that well. He's not even like Aftermoo. He's not even like I'm known for Bard. Like he randomly pulls out Bard, and it was one of the Bards I've ever fucking seen.
Yeah, he's really good mechanically. Same with Hylissang. Hylissang's another support that's like, you watch him play mechanically on some of his champs like Archon and Pike, it's like, whoa. I didn't even know that play was possible. But Mata and Core are more the Korean Vision focused style. And they do play around Fog better than those two supports. So.
By the way, since your team has now done well at 2 international competitions, obviously LCS, it's a little bit more up and down because it was those early losses, but obviously he's still top of the league. I want to ask a question about that. So even though Core JJ was the MVP of the fucking spring split, some people did actually put the criticism of TL down to him because they were like, is he the reason why they have to play this late games? He's coming from the Samsung team, which is infamous for doing that. Like, forget early game, we'll just go to late because they famously never had a fucking jungler. So, like, I understand why that's an issue. It's hard to win the early game without a jungler, you know? So, the thing is, people thought, right, okay, if this was a different meta, maybe he'd even be the best support to have. But has there been, like, an emphasis on him changing up his style at all in that sense? Is he the guy informing how the team plays?
No, we just kind of agree on it, like a collective group, because we also have Kane and Dodo, and then we have other analysts, and we just communicate as a team on how we want to play the game, and we just think playing the game in a more controlled environment is better. Sure, I think we can like pick up some things from G2 and IG and play a little bit more risky, but I don't think Core is dictating our play style as much. I think it's more of a team collective group.
I feel like your team looked so different with Ole than it looked with Core. How can you say like
I wasn't here.
Okay.
I wasn't here with Ole. I was with Fnatic.
I mean, you watched TL before though, right? You watched.
I think that also comes down to. I think that comes down to Pobelter as well. Like Pobelter, like TL never played around mid before. Like I don't think Xfinity ganked mid one time last year. Like if he did gank mid, it was like maybe with mouse bar. So I think it's just adding a more mechanical mid laner allows for I think the correct way to play is through middle if possible. So I think it just gives us another angle to play. So I think it's just a Jensen change is more so the play style change, not as much Core JJ. But also I think Core complements Doublelift better than Ole did, because he knows a lot about lane. He's really communicative. And he's really supportive too.
What do you think, though? Because obviously, one of the main reasons your team was underrated coming in MSI was that the mentality for most people around the world was this isn't a bottom-focused game. Like, you don't play through bot lane at the moment. You play through the solos, you play early, you use the jungler to accelerate the game as quickly as possible, you play strong lane, solo lane picks. Your team obviously wasn't MSI. Is there still an emphasis in Team Liquid on, like, if Doublelift can get his picks, we play through him? Do you think it's correct to play through ADC, aside from the fact you said overall, like, the ideal would be, like, strong mechanical mid?
I think generally everyone knows our playstyle is mid to bot, or we're trying to do that. Mm-hmm. I think it just comes down to picks. Like, for example, against G2 recently, we played through mid to top. We didn't play mid to bot. I think it just comes down to draft and also game plan. Like, how do you beat G2? Like, how do you beat certain teams? Like, obviously, we're going to change our play style pending the team we're playing. Or we're going to try to. I think the best way to play League is if you have the option to play through all three lanes.
Sure.
And Impact's really been stepping it up recently, so.
Funny thing is, I actually still don't think any team does play through all three properly. Like, even the teams that think they can, IG, G2, they don't really. In fact, if anything, they kind of rely, like you were saying, they rely on the fact that their bot lane looks so good because they don't have to be played through all the time. Those guys just chill until it's kind of their moment to go, and then they're like, oh, look, I can play.
Yeah, I don't think any team can realistically play through three lanes. It's usually just two lanes. But you should have the option, or at least understand how to play through the third lane if that draft arises where you need to actually draft certain ways.
So,
like, we picked up.
By the way, obviously, we will talk very much about Rift Rivals here, but I have one last question that vaguely relates to MSI. You've got to give us some insight. You claim, like, you study in IG, etc. Right? Give us some insight. How do you beat IG in a best of 5? What do you have to do? Give us some, like, things you have to isolate. What you have.
First thing you have to do is win or contest the mid 2v2 on wave bounces. So if the wave is pushing in, you have to guard the push out, which.
Oh my God, Loco, this guy might actually be the one. He's from North America and he understands that minions are on the map. Oh my God, I can't even believe this. He understands that the jungler should come based on where the minions. Oh my God, this changes everything. Keep going.
And then you have to think about your own team as well. Like, I think the weakness of IG is once you isolate Rookie, like, he's not taking over the game, then Ning is way more exposable. Like, you can see him, I don't remember what game it was. Like, he's, like, contesting Raptors when he doesn't have mid or top push. He's in random locations. Battleland, I think, mechanically has a hard time. So I think breaking up mid to bot, and then also you have to ward lane brushes.
Mm-hmm. That's a big
and then
one.
you have to be willing to out team fight them. That's, like, the biggest thing with IG, because they're monkeys on a stick. They'll take a fight with you, and because they're down to coin flip the game on mechanics. Mm-hmm. So if you're in winning conditions, you have to be able to out team fight them. Which we did. Like, you can even look at game 2. Like, it was a bloodbath, 9-9. Like, we're willing to fight them over Herald. Like, we're flipping early. Like, you have to be willing to out team fight them. That's, like, the game plan to beat them.
I will say, by the way, I definitely agree on the whole Ning angle, because the thing is, in that group stage, obviously everyone was saying he was like the MVP, looked fucking amazing. I noticed, the key is here, notice that the LPL analysts coming in saying, like, we're going to sweep this whole tournament, like, it's going to be easy, because they knew that, like, it can look just as bad when the game goes bad early. Because the difference is, when he does all those super aggro invades, when his lanes are ahead and they've got pressure, it looks godlike. It looks like, how do you play against that? What the key is what you said there. He still does that even if they're not ahead. Like, he just gambles anyway.
It's the same thing with Caps. Like, the way to beat G2, or one of the ways to beat G2, is if you put Caps behind early, he just runs it because he plays like he's ahead. And I know that from being on Fnatic for so long. So that's, like, one way to beat G2. I'm not saying that's a consistent way, because Caps is like a 10-0 player 9 out of the 10 games. But that is one style in which you can use to punish them. There's ways to beat every team. So you just kind of have to change your picks pending the team you're playing. So yeah, that's why we picked Gragas Yasuo first rotation. Strongest mid 2v2 possible. Let's punish him.
By the way, just as a quick aside, since you were in Fnatic, were you shocked when Caps left Fnatic? Was there any warning sign, like, within the team? Was he not, like, friends with all the players, or was he a bit of an isolated guy?
I think it's. I think it was 50-50. He might have stayed. He might have not have. I mean, I don't want to disclose anything that I can't, because that's just not I keep it in between the team.
No, you should never tell anyone to do that table. And then Caps came in with the steel chair, and then they were like, "Get out! Get the fuck out now!" And then
I don't want to
be unprofessional.
Any of the behind the scenes stuff, but I would say 50-50 chance he would leave. Like, he's kind of a for fun player, so he fits more. I think he fits in better with G2, just the culture of that org as well. So,
did you think 50-50 he was gonna leave, 50-50, or he was gonna join G2? Like, did you
50% stay, 50% leave?
Okay, so it could have been any other team.
Yeah, I mean, big disclosure, we made him an offer as well, so.
Yeah. Oh, the other famous one as well was obviously Cloud9 was going hard at him because obviously they lost Jensen. So yeah, what people don't know is the big NA teams, they were trying to get that.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, I tried. We made a pretty serious offer, but Caps likes going for the more culture fit. So I think he fits in better at G2 than he would with TL. So I understand the move.
Luckily, in the end, Cloud9 got a really good player. Well, they got Niski, so
Niski's pretty good.
The Knicks of the LCS in some ways, they're like, it's the big off season, guys. We're gonna get a big guy. Remember envious Niski? Oh God, sweat. Like that wasn't a good luck. It was all right though. It's all right in the end, I guess.
Oh,
all's well that ends well.
Okay, so one thing I always did want to ask you, a really common complaint that TL gets, or common critique against TL, is Impact doesn't play carries. Like, as someone that works for TL and that knows better than anyone, do you think Impact can't play carries?
No, I think he can play carries. I think like that's just bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I think he can play certain carries. Like, I don't think he's going to be like playing Fiora or something like Camille, but he can definitely play damage focused champions, Gangplank, Kennen,
Rumble,
Nico, Rumble. Like, he can play team fight oriented carries, and he can also play split pushers. Like, he can play Nico well.
So
I think this is bullshit.
My thing is, I agree with you that he can play Rumble, he can play GP, he can play Kennen. But when the meta was about stuff like Vladimir, like these hardcore like flanking, like you need to split push, you need to be greedy with resource carries, I think that's where Impact has like the hardest time, like champions where
he's not going to play Aatrox per hour, is he?
Aatrox maybe, where you need to get resources and you need to carry the team through getting the resource. Like Irelia, Vladimir, or like the two that stood out to me as like these are champions that Impact will not play and that TL will not have a lot of success on. I know you guys won games on those, but yeah.
We played them in practice. I do agree. Like, we might need to put some more effort or work on it. And that's one of the biggest takeaways we had from MSI is just we need to expand our champion pools so we're harder to draft first. But I think like maybe in time he just needs to practice on them. That's all. I mean, Impact's really stepped it up in terms of like last year's performance compared to this year. Like, he picked up so many new champions and people calling him bad. That's why all the pro players have him and hold him in high respect because he's actually really good.
The way he's good is like not very apparent. Like, it's like wave control, it's how he TPs, it's how he gets to fight first, it's how he plays out the fights. It's not flashy, I solo kill this person. It's not flashy, I flame horizon this person. He's good in subtle ways where if you don't know the game, it's really hard to tell.
Here's my analogy, Loco. Since I know you watch basketball, the analogy I would give is this. There are actually certain things in basketball that do not show up in the box score. You can only see them with your eyes. And in fact, because they are basically, like you're saying, they're like anti-players. They're not players, they're stopping players. They just won't look that good because what you'll see is you'll see a guy try to make a move and, like, he can't get the shot he wants. He can't get past, and then so as a result, like nothing shows up on the box score, but that guy actually did stop a play happening. That's actually can be more impressive in some ways, in certain contexts. You're a great player you're playing against. Be playing against the fucking Shy, the guy poster.
That's one of the biggest problems with like any esports statistic right now is like there's no top-down metric, whereas the normal sports is the plus minus. So it's like really hard to measure the entire stat sheet in like League CS:GO needs to be reworked entirely because like it's whoever created the stat sheet is just an API person because it's really hard to show like SOAS is another example of this. Like it's really like the guy putting the off-ball screen, but like he's doing actually a shitload from like actually absorbing the pressure. So yeah, I would agree with you. I think there's a lot of players.
I'll give you an analogy as well, because one of the things that SOAS had as a strength that is very underrated for a top laner is he would sometimes on Fnatic be the fucking engage he had to play like Nar and be the engage. Like, if you look at other teams, like that's another thing I think Impact, once you get past the idea he doesn't play any carries, because let's face it, his mentality in the last few years is he doesn't generally want to play them. Like, his team's going to be at its best if he doesn't have to because of this strength. I would even add in that, like, if he doesn't play carries in a meta where people play carries, and he chooses not to, well, look at Team Liquid's strengths. Like, now you have better Baron control because you have more tanky player there, whereas the other teams are gambling on it. You can also tank in a way that at the moment, like, you saw when IG and G2 in those, like, extreme meta MSI got pushed to late game, it's fucking hard to team fight when you've got all early game damage champions. It's fucking hard.
Yeah, exactly. That's like, again, that goes back to IG as well. Like, they just play this whole coin flip style where they just expect to beat you in lane. So if they don't beat you in lane, you get the team fights, then good luck.
Loco.
Yeah.
What was the secret to Team Liquid doing well at Rift Rivals?
Doing well at Rift Rivals? I just actually playing, like actually fucking giving a fuck. That's legitimately how I feel about Team Liquid. Like, they just actually gave a fuck for once. Like, when I watch all the way up to LCS, like, they are making such basic mid-game mistakes. Like, they're not setting up for objectives correctly. Like, they're late for objectives where they should have control on.
Yeah,
like,
we have a lazy as fuck.
They were lazy as fuck. Watching them, I was like, this looks so lazy from TL, because in spring, they were so sharp about get to objective first, make sure we have the vision, give up the ones we need to give up. And the way they played around like Dragon, the way they played around Baron, like how they were approaching the team fight was the best out of all the LCS teams. And you get that by meticulously like talking about, okay, when we make this call, you move here. Like, this is how, where we place the vision for Dragon. This is how we're going to sweep her. When we have this champion and when we get to this items, like, we're going to call for this and we do this play like this. So it's a lot of repetitive practice to get it sharp like that and to have it right for the meta. And it feels like they weren't doing that for spring. Like, so they look lazy as fuck. And then when they get to when they got to Rift Rivals, it seemed like they ramped up and they were back to like being sharp as a team again and knowing how they wanted to execute on things.
Yeah,
that sounded good. That did sound good, Loco. And you know what? Props. It was real analysis. You ran through the whole context. You built some points. The correct answer is that NA has literally sacrificed the last month or so at being really bad at playing Sona Taric collectively as a region. It's like a spirit bomb in Dragon Ball Z, and they've literally built all of that up just so that they could try to win one international competition. Obviously, they got together. They were like, we're never going to win Worlds. Let's be real. Like, Reggie tried that and he failed many times. MSI. You saw it winning the finals. Fucking hell, that's like the best case scenario. So Rift Rivals is it, right? We're gonna be the people who try hard Sona Taric at one tournament. That's a for fun tournament, and that's basically the equivalent of saying like, let's play an all-star game. I'm playing Nunu jungle. It's like, I'm just here to ruin your game. So, jokes aside, why the fuck was NA so bad at Sona Taric before this tournament?
I can't speak for other teams, but I think we were pretty good at it. Like, we understand the win conditions of it. It's about picking a strong mid jungle 2v2 so you don't get compounded on bot lane. But outside of us, I don't know why the other NA teams sucked at it.
By the way, that is one thing that does blow my mind. I know sometimes teams just haven't figured out every aspect of a comp, so they might make the mistake of picking something that doesn't make sense for something else. But one of the things I don't understand is some of the teams I've seen pick Sona Taric and then losing solo lanes. It's like,
that makes no sense.
How did you imagine you were going to win this game?
Lose all three lanes, scale up for 30 minutes, and win an NA. It works sometimes.
I do agree. Double F should probably work on his Sona. We told him, hey, bud, if we're going to keep playing this, get some solo queue numbers on it. But I think how we execute the composition as a whole is still relatively good.
See, I like to imagine when Doublelift's discussing his picks, it's like there's a classic bit from one of the really old Simpsons episodes, right, where they go to Australia and Marge goes into a bar, and when she's at the bar, she says, like, I'll have some coffee, please. And then the guy goes, beer? She goes, no, I'd like some coffee. He goes, beer? And then she goes, coffee. And he's like, beer. So I imagine Doublelift, right, they're like, listen, Doublelift, like, I've run a lot of the numbers. I've been researching a lot of regions. Like, if we could just get your level up on Xayah, if you start playing a bit of Sona, he's like, Kai'Sa, yeah, I love Kai'Sa. No, I didn't say anything about Kai'Sa. Like, if Sona, and then if we can get Xayah pretty good. Xayah, not. He goes, yeah, Kai'Sa. Yeah, I want to play Kai'Sa again. Like, not getting it. He's just not getting it, right? Core JJ, translate. And then Core JJ just says to him, Doublelift, I'm Korean and won Worlds. And he goes, yeah, whatever you say, boss. Like, I believe that's
the amount of draft meetings we've had where we're trying to tell Doublelift, Ezreal's good here.
What's the game you guys played?
Surprised.
The Yasuo Gragas and then the Ezreal Lux bot lane. Like, I could tell, like, you guys were trying to tell him, like, pick Ezreal here, and he's like, no, Ezreal, I don't want to play Ezreal here. I don't want to play Ezreal here. That was so obvious.
Yeah, I mean, Core's like patting him on his back. It's okay. It's okay. The ass in lane phase.
we have Yasuo Gragas.
We're just not supposed to carry this game, but play your role.
Right, the problem is, Case, and this is going to really hurt me inside to ask this question. Like, I'm a bit tender still, a little bit emotional, but I'm gonna work through the pain and ask you it anyway. Right, being as Cloud9 has an excuse, right? They didn't at times have their AD carry.
Oh, God.
They had to use Blabber. Being as TSM tried every bit as hard as they could. They literally, like, they summoned the spirits of their ancestors. They sold their souls to the devil. They sold like, being as they did everything, and they still fucking sucked at League of Legends. What is wrong with TSM? What happened to them? It's Loco's favorite team. Loco literally just for Christmas, all he wants is TSM to be good at Worlds.
My favorite team's Team Liquid. JK, it's TSM.
I actually am not entirely. I think them swapping junglers is kind of. I don't really believe in a 6-man roster, personally. I think there's the season. You need to have maximum synergy, especially with a jungle role. It's like such an integral part of how you play around mid solo lanes. So I think they're just
TSM, but yeah, generally I agree.
So they're trying to figure that situation out. So I think they're just performing worse. And then outside of that, like I haven't watched them really that close since we don't have to play them till week 9. So I mean, I kind of just take it as I'm not about to study other North American teams unless I have to. For like our upcoming matches.
Do you generally have an opinion which one you think is better for TSM, Acadian or Grigg?
I think Grigg's the better jungler, but I think Acadian probably would fit the team better. I mean, but I don't know. Like Grigny was just like he looked like he was whiffing ultimates. Like Bjergsen's doing pizza delivery kills to him on a 0, like literally layups, and he's just like throwing it like to like outer space. So I mean, I'm not really sure what they're supposed to do if you can't land point blank Sejuani ultimates, but I think maybe they just, I don't know if that's kind of a hard situation. I think Acadian's probably the better player for the team, but he's also a confidence player, so it's subbing him in and out is going to make him play worse. So
I do feel like they have wrecked his fucking confidence. Because the funny thing is, we can talk about this in a minute when we talk about Fnatic, but Fnatic's doing their own jungle swap, and their jungle swap's made Broxah better as far as I can tell. It's had the opposite effect, but I can see, like, dude, ever since they announced this swap, Acadian just, like, yes, he's playing sometimes different champions, but he looks way worse. Like, he looks way less confident in his engages, looks like he's just waiting to lose the fucking game.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. Broxah, I coached him for a year and a half. I think adding someone underneath, I think he needs someone that guides him. Like he needs like a jungle coach or someone that like guides him in like the early game, or at least like a staff member that can bounce ideas off with him, and then he can be really good.
I'm sure Dylan was really good for him then, because Dylan's like a jungle expert. No, like that's his thing. He likes jungle.
I mean, I did positional coaching with Broxah for like about like 8 months while I was with Fnatic. So whenever they made the scuttle changes, like I would do like a flow chart of like, okay, pushing bot, here's what we do, pushing mid, losing bot push, winning jungle matchup level 3, this is the path we should do. Like we would do a whole flow chart of what paths we should be thinking of.
By the way, this is all great stuff, and we will get to it in 1 second, but I have to just get out one of my shit jokes, and then we'll go on to the Fnatic and talk about it if you want. But here's the thing I want to say. I think the problem is this, right? There's an obvious bias. Like, look, Bjergsen looks over. He sees Acadian. He's like an aggressive player. He's going in. Like, you know, he comes from the streets. He's nobody. He's good looking. He's got the buff muscles. And then he goes, everyone's always saying now that you've changed me, Acadian, because I normally ruin junglers. And then he goes, now Grigg here, I'm not saying I'm biased, but he's my ideal jungler. Looks like me. Wimp like me, loves to farm in the jungle, doesn't ever want to gang. My perfect jungler. Don't even have to ruin him. Already came pre-ruined. It's like you just Anyway, whatever. That's why I say it's a shit joke.
Before we go to Fnatic, there's actually one person that I'm actually like, or actually two people that I'm shocked by. It's TSM's import.
Wait. Let me guess.
What?
Is one of them Broken Blade? Who apparently, like, I think, are you like being paid some sort of commission to talk about this motherfucker on every? You'd think this guy was the Shy, and you're like, where is he? Where's Broken Blade? He's one of the greatest top laners of all time. Like, Loco, he had about like 9 good games in his entire career. Like, calm the fuck down. Like,
where is Spring Finals Broken Blade? Where is Spring Finals Broken Blade? That's what I expected in
Spring
summer.
Finals. This is now summer.
Yeah, we're in the more important split.
Spring Finals Broken Blade was fucking insane.
I agree, his potential looked good. Yeah.
And then we never saw him again. We never saw him again. It's just.
I mean, it doesn't. I think the whole jungle situation also like doesn't help his scenario since like. I mean, like you need a jungler to play the game, like so. So like them swapping them in and out just seems like they're doing like 50% efficiency on both. Yeah. Which is just suboptimal.
It's fucking TSM long term. Like I think like they really need to decide. And
it's great, isn't it? Oh, sorry. Yeah, keep going. I think they should keep both of them. You know what, guys? Both of them have their own values, you know, maybe swap them in and out. It's kind of like your version of being G2. Who knows what jungler we're going to play? We could do anything, right? So I think you guys should keep them for a long, long time. Sign them to a Knicks-esque deal, like full 5 years, max contract. Like, let's lock these motherfuckers down. They're talent. NA talent. No one imports. Just get those guys signed up.
Although,
I want to see Björk's career with these junglers.
The most disappointing part is I had an interview with Parth and I asked him like what's the future plan for both jungle, and he said there is a world where they do keep both jungles until end of summer. And then I was shocked. I was like, holy shit, like you should know like picking one of them is going to develop that one further, and like it is going to be better for the team because
you've also just got to commit. Like that's one of the things about the Acadian angle. Like maybe Grig can handle it. He's been in and out of the team anyway with his problems. So, but Acadian, like I say, since it's wrecking him at this point, you may as well just kick him out if you're going to keep doing this. Either commit or don't. Yeah. Like my move to decide between the junglers is from the movie The Dark Knight. I would just take a pool cue, snap it over my lid, and see we're doing tryouts. And by the way, I don't think Grig's going to win that one. If I'm being honest. See Acadian. Baby. You can win this one.
Dude, they could do you guys Acadian could fight rest of the TSM roster and Acadian would still win.
I mean, Acadian could fight the rest of the TSM roster with one hand and probably still win.
Yeah.
Also, that guy's fucking massive.
Finally, for TSM, what's going on with Zven? That's another big question mark for me.
I think that's like any. I think he just has performance. Like he just has bad performances. I don't really know how to solve that issue.
Core doesn't have bad performances. Bjerg doesn't have bad performances. Double doesn't have bad performances. Like, we expect top-tier players to have, like, certain level of consistency. And that was, like, Zben. Zben was the consistent European, like, always deal damage, never lose lane, AD carry. And that Zben also disappeared. He was somewhat of that in spring. Like, it's so fucking confusing to me that TSM regressed. I expected them to be better for summer. I expected it to be TSM TL, like fighting for 1 and 2. Like TL's bored and TSM regressed. So I have no idea what the fuck happened.
Kiz, what do you think of their bot lane, the TSM bot lane? Like, do you think it works well? Does it work well in the context of the team? Because I personally find it a bit underwhelming.
Yeah, we think it's underwhelming as well. Like, they don't even play to win the lane, it seems like. They just play to go even CS and just farm. From every single game we've played them, like they don't play they don't play kill lanes. They play Ezreal, Darius, Tom Kench. Like they just play like just to farm it out and just go even, which we think is the incorrect way to play bot lane. And I think it's limiting their playstyle a lot. So I don't really. We think they're good. Obviously, they're not a bad bot lane, but Doublelift can play any matchup and be up 10 CS against them, in my opinion. Which is what it showed. It showed in our finals. Like it's just like we can play losing matchups. It's really hard for us to even know what's a winning and losing matchup in bot lane because we just like Doublelift and Core GJ are just winning every matchup.
By the way, just as an aside, obviously we all know it must have been a great moment when Zven went to the fog of war near the Scuttle and got killed in that final. But forget the moment that he did the E into the brush. Did you like half come in that moment? Like, oh my god, why has he done that?
Oh, dude, I was laughing.
That's like some shit where you start wondering if you made that happen with your own mind. Like, did I just wish that happened? Like
if you watch the TL video, I'm like jumping up in the background whenever he eat. I was what's good right there?
Dude, what were you guys thinking when you were 0-2? Like, what was the room like when you guys were 0-2?
I mean, we thought we like played badly. Like we weren't down. Like our team's a bunch of veterans.
What happened is, listen, he's trying to put on a brave face, Loco. What happened was they went into the back room, Doublelift turned to Core JJ. He goes, sorry, you won Worlds. I guess I'm just a trash can after all. Jensen goes, fuck, I regret leaving Cloud9. I could have won there. Impact goes, I can play carries. And they go, shut the fuck up. It's not MSI yet. And then what happens is, right, as they're about to go out and lose the third game and get swept by TSM, ushering in a glorious dynasty where TSM would rule forever, what happened was someone just whispered like, oh, it's going to be a shame when Loco wins that bet. And they're like, Locodoco's got a bet on this game? Laser did. Like, let's play this motherfucker. You know,
no, double lift.
You know, fucking double lift was getting put in a fucking pod like Anakin Skywalker. He's like, this is pod racing.
Oh, Doran,
I basically decided we want kill potential on bot, and then we just killed the bot lane.
So, Doran, I have an interesting update. So, at the TL party, me and Double spoke a bit, and we're on a clean slate now. So, we'll see where things go. But maybe we were both maybe tipsy, so maybe it doesn't mean anything. But we'll see. We'll see.
Like you said to him, I apologize for that time I snaked you, and then
I never snaked him.
And then that third time when I snaked you with the girl.
Oh my god!
And then that other girl that you don't know about, but I did snake you. Fucking, I'll snake you a few times. That one, she was bloody good. And then he goes, and I forgive you for playing Nunu support. And you go, oh my god! I never thought me for that. And at that moment, you realize you're in a deep spiritual connection, and now you can go forward as friends.
No, it was more so like Double came up to me because of a joke, and then he was talking to my friend, and then he was like, "So, are we gonna go back to not looking at each other ever again?" And then I was like, "You're the one fucking that burned me on Twitch," and then he's like, "You're the one that burned me on this," and then we actually just hashed things out.
That's good.
See, Double says that, but I don't know if Loco actually believes that. Like, that's not Loco's style. He made it sound like cool, like in a movie, like, oh, it's you. What do you want then? I guess you want to talk. I reckon instead, knowing Locodoco, because his way to sort of like bridge the gap when he wants to break the ice is he just goes super fucking kawaii, like, oh, hello. I bet he just.
I wasn't like that at all. I was like, what? Why are you coming up? We'd hate each other. I want
to double with tickles, and then you were again, oh,
what the animal style? That's not me at all. Stop lying. That's not me at all.
There's one thing I have to ask, though.
What?
I've got an update for you, Loco. You're going to love this. You want to know something mad?
What?
It turns out that the whole hover thing goes deeper than we knew. It was actually Jensen who did the original hover when he played against Perks at like some tournament back when Perks had the famous like Azir and Rise meme. Jensen hovered the Azir against him. So actually when Sven did it against Jensen, that was justified. The beef goes deeper. Anyway, more updates when I get it. From the street.
For those of you guys that don't know, I'm the cool silent type. I'm like Sasuke IRL.
Odd flex, but okay.
I know, isn't it? Like the idea. Here's the thing. Even though I'll give him credit, right? He did do that on purpose as a joke because the contrast's so ridiculous. But like, if there's anyone that he's like, it's in no sense like Sasuke. Like, if anything, I've told him this before. He's not Naruto or Sasuke. He's like Sakura or something.
What?
Around,
No.
Like, I don't like you, Double. Like you have it. You know. Then again, maybe that's what happened. Maybe when Reggie tossed you out of the fucking TSM clan, he goes, "Hate me, little brother." And then like, I can't even do it. But you get the premise of where I was going with that one. He's like, become strong so that you.
No, that's how I felt about TL. That's how I felt about TL when I almost had the chance to relegate them on Golden Guardians. I was like, I'm coming back to destroy the Leaf Village. Like, I'm gonna fucking burn this shit to the ground.
And then GCU was one of those really disappointing filler episodes where you've just had a sick moment between Sasuke and Naruto, and then it comes back in, and you think, oh, I can't wait for the next episode. You load it up, and you hear that theme tune, like, and then the woman's like, the Hokage is like, I'm going to send you on a completely pointless mission for the next 20 minutes to get some nuts because we want to get money from this show, but not have to go good storylines. That was like you in GCU, like, well, let's see if it works out for him. Narration, it didn't.
Okay. Do you want to go to another NA team or do you want to talk about
indeed,
a UT?
Indeed. All right. Well, let's just do Cloud9 then. So obviously it wasn't like the real Cloud9. Like, yes, they used the real roster on the first day, but they had the whole issues going on with that. What would you even say about this tournament for Cloud9? Like, is there anything to take away from it?
Not really. I think it's just kind of a wash, kind of unlucky. Maybe you got Blabber some more time, but I mean, food poisoning sucks. That's kind of the takeaway from my opinion.
I mean, C9 was actually sick. Because like people are like, oh, sick excuses. Like I had a plan with a C9 member on Sunday. They canceled. Like no one from C9 came to the party because there were multiple people sick and they didn't want other people to be contagious. Like they were actually like sick. This is not North American. I was sick excuse sick.
Yeah, like I think C9 Jack did an interview with someone. I don't remember who it was. It might have been you, Loco.
No, it wasn't me.
Where like he basically
you'd remember if it was Loco. It'd be all like awkward moments. He'd just ask outright, like, who are you going to kick off the team next year? And he'd be like, well, right, you can't answer that. And then also at the end, they'd accidentally leave the camera rolling, and he'd be like, Bjergsen, can I get an interview? And he'd go, fuck off, you get one per year. And then just walk off down the corridor.
Okay.
But like C9 and Jack basically said that was the takeaway from this as well. So I think sucks, but whatever.
Right, let's talk about some EU teams.
Wait, that's it for C9? Wait, there's
what else is there to talk about?
Whoa.
I've got a question then. Okay, we've got an analyst on here. So here's a question for you, Kaz. Right, I won't poison the well at all, so I'll ask you just straight up. What do you think right now about Licorice as a top player? Like, where do you evaluate him? Is he good? Because, I won't say anything, but I just want to know, we're going in clean on this one. What do you think of him?
I think his peak, I think he has like performances like this. Like if Bjergsen's this, Licorice is this right now. He used to be a lot more consistent. I don't really know what happened to him. Like this split, he's playing like dog shit relative to last year. Like I'm just gonna be straight up honest. Like he's just not playing as well. I think Impact's way outperforming him. Like he's losing matchups he shouldn't be losing. But I think he definitely has the potential to be like the best top laner in NA for sure. I mean, I worked on E United whenever he was there. As like I basically just volunteered to be an analyst for him, just get my foot in the door. And like I watched some of the scrims. This guy's really a pop-off player, but I think right now he's just in a slump. I think he'll get it. He'll turn it around. But
wait a minute, you went from E United to Fnatic, the team. You had like a reverse Locodoco. He started at the top and just went down and down and down.
No, I started at Direwolves. I started at Direwolves, the Oceania team.
Okay.
Because I was like, how are you going to get a start in esports? No LCS team's going to pick up some noob. That's like some Twitter analysts. So you kind of have to start at the lowest barrier to entry. So I just reached out, got my Direwolf spot, worked with the United. I made a Reddit post. Clarky reached out to me, and then Fnatic, and then now Team Liquid. So
the grind is
real. I worked my way up.
What do you think, Loco, on the Licorice topic then? Because I tried not to poison that. I didn't want him to know like what our opinions were, but like, man, this is the most disappointing player this year for me.
What?
Like,
That's
I really
Broken
thought
Blade
this
for
was
me.
going to be his.
What do you think about Licorice? I think about Broken Blade.
No, because the difference is that man was justified by last year. I thought this guy would be like the MVP of the league. I thought if you look at their squad, he's the most likely player to take over now that Jensen's gone. Like this could be his time. The fucking meta was amazing in top lane. He could play anything in theory. This split has been so underwhelming.
Yeah, that was like C9's, like I would say Fangs, like Licorice plus Spenskaren. They have the scariest top side in all of LCS, and then that suddenly disappeared. Like that was C9's.
Yeah, Spenskaren's playing really well.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened to Licorice. Okay. So the second question is, what do you think about Sneaky?
He is ill.
I think
barring Rift Rival's performance, what do you think about Sneaky?
I think his
got a great ass.
Yeah, I'm not gonna comment. I'm not gonna comment on the cosplay stuff. But,
yeah, whatever. Don't. No. Why would you do that? Keep going. Yeah.
I think his laning is obviously. I think the meme holds up. Like he's kind of just whatever in lane. I think he does a good job at playing with his team though and moving to fights. Like they're a really fight focused team. So I think he does that well. But outside of that, I think he's underwhelming in general. Like if you gave me Double If for Sneaky, I would bet $500 on Double If winning that lane in any matchup. If it's an even matchup. So I mean he's not bad. He's serviceable. Like you can win with Sneaky. Like, he's not bad. Like he's not like he's definitely a good team fighter. He's not bad. It's just like he's not like wow, like Deft level or Teddy level. But he's definitely good.
His strengths remind me of like an AD carry version of what Impact usually does on teams, where it's like it's going to be the third lane. He's going to try and just do fine against everyone. If you get to a team fight, he's going to do a great job. If he has his picks, he might do a great job, but he's just going to be okay. And crucially, you usually aren't going to think of him as like the problem in a team. He's just going to be all right.
Yeah,
but I will say though,
he's a 5 out of 10.
Like one thing I don't know if you know this, Loco, but one of the reasons why actually, this is a secret to content, by the way, that no one knows.
Oh no,
right?
I'm listening.
It is to actually read Reddit comments. It is to actually read tweets and replies. But you have to be able to do it and not take it personally. Like, you're actually pretty good generally at it. Like I noticed you're good at ignoring it. But like what I mean by that is the reason why I read a lot of Reddit is because when I make my content, I want to know where my opinion is relative to where I feel like the center point is of the community. So as a result, if we're quite close, I can just write the piece normally as I would, and people might enjoy it. It might hit the stream of like similar agreement. But if, for example, my opinion's really different to the community, I'll still write all my own opinions, but I'll know to frame them in the context of how the community thinks. So if they think very differently about a player, I'll set it up that way. People often think this way and this, and then I'll put my thoughts in so that they can kind of like follow me where I'm going. I'm taking them from where they are to where I see the game. So one of the crazy moments, right, where I'm just going to go ahead and say I was right, everyone else was wrong, was when Doublelift hadn't joined Team Liquid yet, when he was at the end of TSM. This was the real consensus in the community, Loco. Because Sneaky always had the better international performances because you got out of groups and, you had like occasional good games. And Doublelift famously had failed internationally because he had a bunch of underwhelming tournaments. The actual consensus among fans in NA was that Sneaky was actually the greater player historically. And I always used to tell people, like, you are out of your motherfucking mind. Like, he's not even the best player on his team. Like, maybe he was for like a split. Like, he's been certainly an above average player and he fits his team very well. But the difference is, I always said this, like, when the fuck was the game on Sneaky's back every week, like it has been for most of Doublelift's career? Like, you have to judge these players differently. And so, yeah, true, Doublelift hadn't won the championships as much then and he hadn't had the international competition. But, like, that's one of those examples of where I do feel like fans just put way too much emphasis on, like, the result and they don't look at, like, the actual player in the game.
Yeah, it's very similar to, like, Charles Barkley, Doublelift before, like, he won. Mm-hmm. Like he's like literally like hard carrying his team alone, and sure he doesn't win, but he's literally the hard.
I think it's super easy for people to fanboy Sneaky and like why Sneaky was regarded so highly. One, he's like really likable, and then that year where the Doublelift got kicked here from TSM, it was the C9 like Sneaky going fucking insane in Gauntlet, and then them doing well at Worlds. So like he did well in Gauntlet, he did well at Worlds. Doublelift failed at Worlds, so 1+1, like Sneaky's better than Doublelift, and it's hard to like really separate people's performance, and it's really hard to separate like your emotion and like the storyline going into it. Like the storyline was just set up for where the general fan base should think Sneaky is better than Double.
Because one of the angles that I always thought was whack was they always used to set it up as like, well, you can't blame him. Early in his career, he was with Lemonation. What was he meant to do? When he gets a real support, well, he had fucking Prime Smoothie. When Doublelift had Biofrost, who, like, I don't care what you plebs say, Biofrost was never the best support in NA. Like, get out my fucking face with that shit. So, like, the difference is, one of those guys is like, fucking, he's basically like playing the game with one hand and then gonna get his arm. It's all right, mate. Just keep following me, keep what I'm doing. Meanwhile, the other guy, like, that was a Prime Smoothie when he was at his absolute peak, was when Sneaky was playing with him. Mm-hmm. You're gonna look good.
True.
And Doublelift has some insane support still.
He had Aframu in his prime. Now he has Core.
No, now he has that. Yeah. I would agree. Now,
even before that.
I mean, actually, the sad thing for Doublelift is he got Ole in his fucking worst year, arguably. Like, the year before, Ole looked good. I thought it was going to be a sick bot lane. It was fucking underwhelming as fuck.
Really? I thought he had a great support before that.
Yeah, Chowster was pretty cool. And he knew a thing or two about League of Legends. Like, he knew that those Koreans would never get good. It's the way he was. People don't know. The sad thing is, Chowster is actually, I genuinely think, one of the smartest players to ever play League of Legends. It's just that, unfortunately, the one exception to all the shit he said that was right was probably the most strong of anything anyone's ever said in League of Legends, which was that Koreans would, like, be always 1 year behind us. Like, no, it doesn't work that way, Chowster. Difference is, you won't get to see when they get ahead because you yourself have got like 2 years left, homie, when you say that comment. It's over for you after that. Let's be real. The second he did that, like, Sona Ultimate fail, where he spun like a 360 no-scope against TSM in playoffs, his whole career was done at that point. He should have just retired instantly. I mean, basically did. Like, they kicked him out after that. Oops, did I say that out loud? Haha. Better make me edit out of an interview, KLB May, motherfucker. Oh, did I say it anyway years later? Well, sue me. Anyway, look, personal beef, just had to settle that. Didn't really, very petty. That's just me. So anyway, let's go back to this tournament. Right? Let's talk about some Fnatic. Right? I have to say, I'm known as someone generally, I don't say I'm a Fnatic hater because, again, just like TSM, I don't hate the team. I generally just get annoyed by their fans. But I will always come across as a Fnatic hater because just like they are the EU TSM, they have the history and they have the mad fan base. So as a result, their fans always go too far. And this is the sad thing. people might say that's because they're winning for it. No, the fans don't go too far when they're winning. The moment that the fan becomes untenable to hang around with is when their team's second or third best, but they think they're the best. That's when those fans go way out of control. That's when they get really annoying, when they start like finding every reason as to why, like, oh, this isn't fair. They are the best. Reckless, he is a god. It's like, they just find that. So unfortunately, I have sounded like I've been hating on Fnatic. But the Fnatic that actually came to this tournament, I thought fucking was balling. They look good. And they actually look like good. They fixed that whole Broxah situation.
I think Broxah is definitely playing a lot better. And also,
Nemesis
I think
has come along a lot better than he was before. Whipple's found his fucking game. They play to him now. I think the team's starting to look legit now.
Broxah a lot better. I think Broxah's the best performing jungler in the West right now. I think Broxah's better than Jankos right now in terms of performance.
He's literally so good. I don't know why they're role swapping jungles, but I think Broxah is like such a good jungler. I think Fnatic as a whole do a pretty good job at playing around all their lanes as well. And Reckless, like playing with Caps last year, it taught him how to play the little secondary role. So he's like down just to play Karma and be like, ha ha ha, my team's gonna carry. So I think like they have a perfect storm right now where they've just integrated Broxah with like a new mid laner, and then Nemesis is actually playing well. So I think they're actually a good team. Like I think it's like G2, us and Fnatic are like really close. I think like whoever plays better on the day probably would win that. And then, but even us and G2, like we're not that far behind G2. Like we're probably pretty close. And then I think after that, I think there's a pretty big gap between us and the next best. I think Origin's probably the next best team in the West, but then the NA teams are way. I would even go down to like 7th place EU is better than like TSM and C9 right now.
No, that's
like,
bullshit. No.
Listen. Well, it depends. Loco. We have to find what team does he mean. So when you say 7, who's 7th at the moment in EU? I'm gonna guess like.
I think Rogue is better than TSM.
What?
I'm dead serious. Like
he had to say something crazy, didn't he? I know he had to say something crazy. Like, come on, then let's do this. Why is Rogue better than TSM? Aside from because it's fucking hilarious. Like, go ahead.
I mean, if you watch their games, like they're actually just. I think TSM just they're just fundamentally.
No, like, this is LS type of like fucking G2 would lose to KT Jin Air. This is Jin. No,
let the man talk. I want to hear the guest talk.
Okay, fine.
Loco, listen, Loco. Right, go kids.
I think
you're on a heater here. Let's go.
No. Okay, I take that one. Maybe not Rogue, but I think Splice is better than the next best teams. I'll take back the Rogue comment. I don't want to.
That one's a bit of a cheat, though, kids, because they also do play like a fucking LCS team. So to be fair, they actually, I think I'm with you. I think
Splice is not a 3rd place team. Splice is like not a 7th place team. 7th place team is like Misfits Rogue. That's like where you're getting at.
Splice should be like 4th or 5th in my opinion. They're
all right, maybe not 7th. I'll maybe refute that statement.
There's a little bit of hyperbole there.
Yeah, don't you dare talk about TSM like that.
Maybe the 5th place EU team is better than TSM and C9 right now.
By the way, do you remember earlier when Loco said that he was like a calm, cool, collected guy? Like when a 12-year-old boy was like, "Oh, I like Loco," he went mental. And then now, when you just said, "I think Rogue is better than TSM," he did like that shit out of cartoons where their eyes go out like, it was mental.
All right, I think SK is better. I think Splice is better. I think
no. Oh my god.
No. I think SK when they're peaking, whenever they're playing well, like he's like actually.
Look, real talk.
What?
Self-made man would brutalize the anus of any LCS team ever.
Yeah,
sure. Maybe self-made could handle it. Pretty good squad, but I don't know. Well, he'd wreck a lot of teams himself.
Okay. SK when performing well is good. I do think at the end of the split, TSM will get it together because they always start off slow for some stupid ass reason. I think they will pull it together and actually be really good. And then I think C9 as well, but outside of that, like. Yeah, Splice, like SK, Misfits.
Here's the problem.
Maybe.
Like, let's be real. If you look at the way LCS is at the moment, like teams that are realistically candidates for like to join the group you're talking about, you having to go to the likes of GGS. Like, if anyone I'm not joking. Just stylistically, if GGS came to Europe, they'd be in relegations, in my opinion. Like, I know there isn't any more, but they'd be like 8th place. It'd be fucking bad. It'd be embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, Golden Guardians, their issues, like, they just can only play Ezreal and Darius. And, like, Froggen, I don't really know what Froggen's supposed to do.
A team fight.
According to Loco, everything.
What? No, pick scaling champions and team fight. That's what Froggen does on Golden Guardians.
I mean, but did you watch like the game versus us? He is literally doing the maximum amount of damage possibly can, and they're still losing. Like, I feel so.
Do you want to know my favorite one? You're gonna love this, right, Kiz? I will say I do obviously attract the dumbest Froggen ticks because people know I'm a fan of his and I think he's a good player. But I'm not joking. People were trying to trigger me. Like, you know the TSM game, GGS versus TSM. They were trying to tell me that Froggen lost the whole game for GGS. Like, you know the game where he was like 1v9ing against his own fucking team as well, and then when they were trapped in a blush, he died, and then they were like. That fucking Froggen should 1v.
Bjergsen would have never gotten trapped in that brush.
Well. I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous.
Going back to Fnatic, like what happened on Fnatic, like Bwipo's really aggressive. Nemesis is a carry player that we need to play around. Like Hylissang can roam a lot, create pressure on the map, and then like Broxah adapted well to that, and he played towards solo lanes really well. Hylissang roams more, and like they just gelled so much better as a team in summer, and like it's really showing in Rift Rivals and LEC. That's exactly what I expected out of like C9 and TSM, like that they get better.
And for TSM, sure.
That they get better and their style meshes more. Like Fnatic's done a phenomenal job of it. Like Fnatic, I thought they had off-season drama. I thought shit was not going well for them, but it was the exact opposite, where like they look so much stronger and they look put together as a team.
Yeah, Young Bucks does a good job at like controlling the atmosphere and like building the right culture. So I think I wasn't ever really worried about Fnatic performing towards summer because they still have like baller ass players. Like Hylissang's like I think the best sport in Europe. I think he's better than Mickey X. People don't at me for that. I think Broxah is like so insane. Like having worked with them directly for multiple years or like a year. So and then Reckless is always going to be stable. If you get to 3 items, I think Reckless is the best team fighting AD carry in the West. I even think he's better than Doublelift, but I think Doublelift's better at laning. Doublelift's a better laner than Reckless for sure. But Reckless, when he gets his item spikes, he knows how to team fight on the champions. He knows it, like Sivir, Tristana, Xayah. He's a great team fighter.
No, that's the problem is there, right? Like that's exactly, you phrased it well there, because the problem is at his strengths, Reckless is absolutely one of the best, and his consistency in doing that is very, very good. But two things there. One, like you said, he does have, it's not that he has a no champion pool, it's that if his strengths are ever available, he just gets like 1.5 times better at playing those champions. So like obviously he would if they're in the meta at all. And then the other part is, yeah, if he gets 2 or 3 items, he starts to get fucking good. You're an AD carry. You have to be able to get to the 2 or 3 items. So you need to have some pretty sick players elsewhere on the map to get you there.
Yeah,
like the difference is, I've always said this, you put Reckless in like a Doublelift scenario where it's like the whole team has to play through him. I was impressed when he did it in like season 7. He was very good for briefly doing it, but you could tell it didn't suit his mentality. Yeah, I could, like, that's why he was literally like crying when he's getting the MVP. He was like distraught because it wasn't like his style of play, dude. He's not the sort of person like you have to have. People don't realize because people like Forgiven seem like arseholes. Like it makes people undervalue that. It's really hard to be like the superstar who always has to carry a bad team, but be like, yeah, so what? I'm going to do it. Like that's a fucking very, very rare mentality to develop. Like not a lot of players have that.
Yeah,
I think Reckless is better suited as a secondary carry because he plays for HP and health in the lane phase, which I don't think is a bad style. Like I think he's probably really good. I think he's like insane actually. But it's just he's better suited on a team where he has another player like Bwipo or someone that generates the early game pressure, and then he comes in and plays his role, and he's probably the best at his role.
So that's Zven. Zven is exactly Reckless. I feel like Zven and Reckless have so much similarity.
Reckless doesn't make mistakes.
Zven
Reckless
used to be like that too.
Once he gets his item, once he gets to the mid game, Reckless randomly die them, which is like. So I bet like $1,000 on Reckless in a 3-item AD carry team fight over any other AD carry in the West.
Yeah.
Also, I am just going to say, I'm going to be the hater. Are you ready? My turn to be the hater. Like, I don't do it all the time anyway, but I'll pretend like that's a new feature. Like, Thorin the hater. Here's what he has to say for this episode. Like, here's the hate. Sven, homie, I only saw you play professionally with one support player. His name was Mithy. And at this point, the myth is that you were the one who knew what the fuck you were doing in that lane, mate. I haven't seen any of that shit. Since you were with that smoothie guy, it's not so smooth, is it? It's fucking garbo, isn't it? Like, you're just doing nothing. So, where's it at? All I'm saying is, I know the Mythy guy's a genius. I know he's made a bunch of AD carries. I know he's played with a lot of great AD carries. You've got to show me something. Like, the difference is, you know what? I'll even contrast you against Reckless, like Loco did there. Hey, Reckless had times where he didn't always have the best support. He had times where he had some supports that were beginners or were on worse teams or were outright just average players. Yeah, he's had some very good players on the other parts of the map. He didn't always have beast supports, though. So I'll say that. I think overall, Reckless fucking wins that battle in history.
Because you're gonna be a hater, I'll defend Zben. I think one part about Zben that's really admirable and that really makes Zben is how much he grinds, how much solo queue he plays. Like,
yeah, he's a hard worker.
Yeah, he's an extremely hard worker. It sucks to be a hard worker in NA.
This motherfucker grinds more than Loco when that fourth shot of 151 hits him in the fucking right. You know, you think that fucking girl doing the K-pop dance, he's getting behind her.
I mean, but Reckless also grinds as well.
I mean, GGS.
Yeah, but Reckless gets to grind EU solo queue, where Zben has to grind North American solo queue. I think that's actually the part that probably fucked him, and I think that's the part that fucks a lot of Korean players. They
so sad as well, isn't it? That he was forced to go. Oh wait, he chose. Oh, fuck him then.
Like, if you throughout your whole life, every time like you felt shitty about your performance and how to recover was to grind out solo queue. And then you try to do the same thing in North America, and instead you just get fucking, like, you just feel shitty, you don't improve, like, you get called toxic.
He's basically Finn from The Last Jedi. He chose to join the evil fucking Empire. He's a stormtrooper, and he's like, it actually sucks being the bad guys. And I'm like, no shit, motherfucker. And then he's like, oh, I want to be a good guy. It's like, well, you can't do that, can you? I guess in this scenario, Bjergsen's like, whatever that fucking... what was the captain that had like
Captain Phasma?
Yeah, that one. Yeah. He's like him, like beating his ass in his shape. Like, come on, motherfucker! You're letting Denmark down, you dumbass! I'm supposed to be sick at this game.
Well, that's actually kind of funny.
I mean, yeah, that's what happens to hard grinders from Korea and EU that come. Like, they try to grind out solo queue, and they're like, "Holy fuck, this is a waste of time," and like, it's just making me worse and making me more angsty.
Yeah. That's the thing. If you want to get a good duo partner, you got to grind. Sorry.
True.
Sorry. I did like a letter on the end there. It's weird. Okay. Right. Okay. Here's the question going forwards. Since you said earlier that despite the record domestically, you do think G2 is the better team overall, do you think Fnatic can win the EU split?
Of course. If the meta stays in a Reckless favored position, which I think their Riot's slowly pushing it towards the bottom lane, I think, of course, they can win it. I think Killisang is really good. I think if it stays with Sivir meta, like, this is right up Fnatic's alley. I just think it'll come down to whether Caps like runs it or he's a 10-0 player. Like, that's literally the question. Like, is Caps actually going to hard carry, or is he going to get like obliterated? You
said earlier that he's a 9 out of 10 on and 1 out of 10 off. If he's 9 out of 10 on, then that means they win 9 out of 10 times, no?
Yeah, I mean, but like Nemesis also isn't a bad player though. Like, so I think you can stabilize. There's certain picks that there's ways you can draft in which you can make mid lane less volatile, and I think that's probably the way to do it. I mean, the way to beat. I can't say that, but
Ooh. You didn't want to reveal how you beat G2 there.
There's a lot of other ways, but I think Fnatic can definitely win. I think I have a lot of faith in their players and staff. So I think I would still favor G2 in the series, but I think it's going to be like a 3-0, 70-minute like what they did to us, MSI or Origin, or like I think it'll be a lot. I think the gap is closed between Fnatic and us and G2. Like, I think we're a lot closer than we were in spring. I think G2 just naturally had synergy just from the way they interacted out of game as well. Just a bunch of like Caps was like skirming at the facility, and I walk in, I'm like, "Are you guys trolling?" And pick ban. He's like, "Her." So I think it's just their team culture is more just fun. So.
The only thing is, though, one thing I will say about Caps is I agree. Like, I have to say, for a player as good as he is, he has had some appalling international games over his career, like ludicrously bad for someone that good, especially in the sense of like, it's one thing if you're like supposed to be the star and you just have like I have an off day, I did bad. He's had games where he is literally chain feeding the other team, and you're like, what the fuck is this? This guy's supposed to be the best Western player. But I'll give him credit. As weird as this sounds, I actually think that is actually a weakness that comes from his strength, which is that he has a fucking amazing mentality. Like, this guy genuinely, he's not exaggerating. I think he actually believes Loco. and this makes him very unique. I think he believes he can beat Faker. I think he thinks he's better.
He is. I think
all of them. I think he really believes
Caps
it.
Yeah.
I think Caps is better than Faker right now. I think Caps is
but the difference is, if you go back in time to any of the players, Bjergsen, Jensen, they didn't really believe they were better than Faker, not even for 1 second. Like, they hoped they could have a great game against him. They thought they could have a chance to win. I think Caps actually believes he's better.
Okay, so...
like, the only player I've ever seen this with before, Loco,
Forgiven.
You know this when we had him on the episode, is Froggen. Froggen as a mid laner also used to believe that. He used to actually think, I won't say too much, it's all secret shit, obviously, but he used to really think, like, his logic was, well, I've never played against Faker and no one's ever smashed me in lane, so fuck it, why not? I reckon I can get him then. If I get the right champ, yeah, why not? And I used to say to him, like, it is Faker though, and he'd be like, so what?
I feel like...
Which is a pretty sick mentality if you can have it, because you can't fake that, that's the problem.
Right now, Caps is better than Faker, but even when Caps was worse than Faker, even when Caps hasn't proven himself to be better, I believe that he believed that he was better. Like, he had that mindset.
Yeah, Caps is really good. Like, he's just... And he's like kind of... I don't want to call it but he's the best. And I think that's really important. If you actually want to perform, you can't idolize the opponent you're playing. You have to just actually think you're just a better person, like a better team or a better player. Like, if you start idolizing people, then you start playing scared, and you can't play scared versus teams if you actually want to win in a best of 5. So,
indeed, that's why Team Liquid did that aggressive Game 2 draft in the final. They were like, fuck it, go out on our shield. Game 1 didn't work, so fuck it, let's just go all the way down.
Yeah.
That was the one you want back, isn't it, Case? That was the one where if you could get a game back, that might be it.
Yeah, probably.
Well, it was a Zyra Ashe versus the Hecarim duo, Hecarim Sonateric.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean... Can Riot just please nerf Sona though? Like, actually, like, they should just bury this champion. This champion is like, it's like an abomination. It needs to be nerfed into the ground. But we're gonna keep playing it because it's like, oh, free W, check. Yeah. See you at 20 minutes.
My problem is this, right? I have seen a couple of players have sick games. Like, I saw Patrick have a game that was pretty good in LEC. But the worst thing about that champion is, even when it dominates the game, it's fucking shit to watch. And when it's behind in the game, it's even worse to watch. Like, I actually want to watch League of Legends, not Garbo.
It reminds me of the Overwatch meta. If any of you guys watch Overwatch, the Goats meta, where it's literally just healing tanks. Like, Sejuani does more damage than an Elise. Like, it's like, what is going on? Like, I mean, I could speak about the Riot Balance team for a while, but I'll just keep that. Like, just nerf the champion, please, so we don't have to play it. Like, I don't even want to play it. Like, I was falling asleep whenever we played G2 with it, like, in the room, the review room. I was just like, all right, we're playing Sona. Like, I literally fell asleep, like, for 5 minutes of that early game, because it's literally just boring to watch.
By the way, Loco, I've got an update for you.
What?
Like, a lot of people, a lot of fans in the world are really interested. Instead of the weather, what they follow is my relevance in esports, because they like to comment on it a lot, tell me that I'm not relevant, you know, that I'm just like only famous for edgy comments, you know, not the 1,400 YouTube videos I did in the last 4 years. You know, they're not like...
You make edgy comments to stay relevant.
CSGO events and literally appearing on live American television on the #1 basic cable channel, TBS. Suck my dick. But anyway, like, they often say, you know, I'm irrelevant, etc. And they're right. I actually have to admit it. I've realized the other day, I've only worked as the official voice in a partnership with one of the biggest comic companies of all time. I've never even been asked by DC Comics to do any work, so I am pretty irrelevant.
Oh yeah, you were the voice for...
That was an allusion to the Marvel.
Yeah, the Marvel thing.
Yeah.
You know, they played a video for Riot. Like, Riot played a video, but I'm not sure if there was a different version or if they censored it, so you're not on it on purpose. But the version they played on LCS, you weren't in it.
And it was probably just like some super woke version where instead they had like Froscorin do my part, because they were like, why can't a woman just do everything a man can? And then she was just like,
Duncan.
How did they win? How did they do it? Listen.
Oh, God.
That's what I do, baby. That's what I do. You fuck with me and take my voice out of videos? That's what happens.
Okay.
Shit gets called out.
Let's talk about League. Let's talk about League.
Holy shit.
Exactly.
That's like...
Okay.
I want that video played at the opening of Worlds with me doing it live. Well, I'm never going to go to Worlds, so fuck that.
Wait, it's in Europe. You're not going to go to Worlds?
Why the fuck would I?
Why not?
All this shit going on in my life.
Okay.
I mean, maybe if there's some super secret project that we might discuss before that we might be able to get doing, then maybe I will. But if there's not, then I won't. I'll sit at home and just go, oh, look, I wonder if TSM's going to do well this year.
Oh, so you know that they'll maybe, you know they'll be making Worlds. That's what you're admitting, that they'll be Worlds.
Right, Loco, making worlds as TSM in the current LCS crowd is like winning a race against a bunch of people who are in a fucking iron long. And you're just a normal person. Like, what do you want? Like, you'd have to really fuck up to lose that race. Like, the other guy's inside a machine incapable of moving.
Wait. You think TSM will make... I think it's actually up in the air. Other than TL, I'm actually scared for all the teams. I'm scared for TSM. Other than TL, I don't think any of the world spots, they're very guaranteed.
Yeah, I can't really speak on behalf of the other NA teams. I mean, we might as well just activate the coin flip simulator.
Wait, Duncan, do you think it's clear cut on who's going to Worlds from NA teams? It's a little early, but we're halfway through summer.
TSM, we're probably gonna make it for points.
Yeah. The thing is, as he says, first of all, TSM has the points, but they don't have to do that much. Probably just have to make semis or whatever, right? Cloud9, yeah, they have to do a little bit more. But look at the players Cloud9 have. Like, what's funny is their weakness, as we were talking earlier, like, is they don't really have like the superstar pop. They also have just really good players, though. So I also think surely that team turns the corner and becomes good again, especially in a world where who else is good in LCS? Like 100 Thieves. No, it's definitely not.
The only other two teams I could see is Golden Guardians and Optic. I think Optic are playing really well right now.
By the way, if Optic makes it, I hope literally they erect some sort of statue to crown as a fucking human god that he took fucking arrow to Worlds. He was like, you know what? Everyone said I was washed up, so I'll just literally fucking... I'm gonna have to 1v17. Like I'm fighting me, my team, my staff, the GM, fucking LCS. Like I'm gonna do him versus the world. It's like Royal Rumble when that motherfucker goes in the game. He is a sick player, Crown, isn't he?
Yeah, he's really putting on the carry pants. And I don't know, like they played that Scarlet guy, and that Scarlet guy was one trick from like E Masters, so I don't really know why TSM didn't ban that and say, okay, if you beat us with anything else, salute the flag. But
yeah, that's what I heard. Like he only played Vladimir, and TSM just let him have Vladimir, and then he won with Vladimir.
Yeah, they gave him their best champ. It was really question mark.
A recent news that happened that actually involves TL. Mike Young is going to Echo Fox. What do you guys think on that?
It's kind of whatever.
Activate Agent Mike Young. Destroy Echo Fox from inside.
I just said Mike. Yeah, good. Congrats. I mean, he has to take that. Like it's an LCS offer.
Duncan,
I'm not really sure what's. Yeah, you guess.
All right, no. Okay, finish your thought. What was your thought?
I think Mike's pretty good. He's really good at leading the early game, but the game could use some work. But other than that, I think he maybe could be. I'm not really sure about Echo Fox, to be honest. That's kind of a wash. But
there's also another side to that as well, Loco, which is that Rush did a tweet. He said he's out of Echo Fox. He's looking for offers in any region. It's like, fucking hell. Who's going to pick this guy up? This is what I need to know, Rush. I'll pick you up tomorrow. Have you got a functioning flux capacitor, and can you hit 88 miles per hour? Because we better go back in time if you want to play fucking professional League of Legends again. Like, the display you put on this year was not good, my son. It was not good.
Did you see the Mike Young tweet to Rush saying, I'm a free agent now?
What did he say? I didn't see that.
Okay.
Let me look it up.
Did he BM him?
What? He didn't BM him, but he didn't purposely BM him. Oh my god.
He accidentally. Was he like, oh, good luck. Hope they're better than your last team.
Okay, here's what he said.
Or did he say something like, wow, great split for, and then make a joke like TSM.
Love you, Rush. Sorry I took your job, but I will stay subscribed on Twitch. Heart. You my favorite jungler.
Well,
learned about your nearly
that, like fucking $2.50 then.
When I was a kid. Double heart. Super nice guy. I hope he gets a good opportunity. Sorry I took your job. I genuinely believe Mike Young didn't mean to like shade him in any way.
Look, here's the thing, Rush, you don't have any trash talk skills, mate. So call me. I'll collab with you. Because here's what the comeback should have been. You should have said, no problem. Bitches always love my Lee Sin.
Yeah, I don't know about that tweet. That's a
probably get a fine for that. Yeah. Probably get a fine.
I don't know if that's like the right time. I mean, I can't really speak on tweets, so I don't have the best track record.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. Mike Young, you're not really reading the room, mate. Like, people aren't finding that tweet for me. Like,
yeah, I definitely am the last person to give him tips on what the tweet. So.
Oh my! I don't think he means anything bad. It's just like league players can be socially not the most apt. Yeah.
But the problem is though. To be fair, that is you know what? Here's what's funny. That was an example of a tweet I didn't do. Because when I saw Rush do that tweet, I actually thought, like, to be fair, I used to really like watching this guy play. I used to think he was a really skilled player. But I was trying to think, what is a way you can say something nice when he's just basically being fired from his job for being terrible? And it isn't the past. Like even if you say, I used to really like you back in the day when you were good, that's a fucking diss. Used to think you were good on tape. That's a diss. It's like,
that's a backhand compliment.
No, it is in a way, but yeah, that's the problem. So, like, I actually realized there's no real way to do it. Like, you're better off either just privately just saying, like, good luck or something. But, like, you can't really, because he's in a bad spot, then you can't really say much to that. Like, you can't even lie and be like, imagine being like, I didn't think you were the problem. It's like, except for the fact that you were the problem. But, like, fucking hell, like, what are you supposed to say? Well, my joke would be, like, one time we did an episode of my show with Richard Lewis, right? And we had this guest on. Actually, you'll know him. He was the guy who used to be the Loco. You'll know him. He used to be the coach of the Team Liquid CSGO squad called GB James.
Oh, yeah.
And at the time, he was being really annoying, right? So at the end of the episode, because I was like so triggered by how annoying some of his points when I was wrecking him. At the end, Richard goes, do you have any final thoughts to say to James here? And I go, I don't know, fucking stay in good health. What do you want me to say? I think the guy's dog shit. It's like, what compliment can you even give at that point? It's like, just stay alive if you can. Even that sounds backhanded.
What? That's what you wanted to tweet to Rush? Like, I hope you can stay alive and what is it? Like, make a living?
Not bad, yeah.
Jesus.
I do not... Here's the tweet to Rush. Dear Rush, I formally do not wish poverty upon you. Love. What are you supposed to say? It's like nothing you can say.
Damn. Dude, Echo Fox loves Lost. This is the second year in a row where they benched an import to make sure Lost can play. Because I don't think Mike Young's going to be the solution for Echo Fox. I think Mike had really good opportunities on TSM and TL Academy, and he hasn't been like really shining and showing up. The only time he was good was on P1. After that, he's been disappointing so far. So I think the only reason they're, pushing out Rush and getting Mike Young is for Lost, and they really believe in Lost for some reason.
Yeah, what do you all think of that? What do you think of this player, ADC player?
Lost, I think he's actually pretty good. I think there's a lot of Oceania players that could probably be in an A Academy, but it just comes down to the fact that they're imports. Like, skill-wise, I think there's like 8, maybe 5, like 5 to 8 players in OS that could probably...
This is now where, like, that sounded pretty good because that was real analysis, but we have to spice it up. You now need to say, like, it's probably like 8 or 9, like twice as many as the good players in the EU. Deadpan to the camera, like, just pause, hold... You have to have some sort of a diss and everything,
Yeah. I mean, the problem with EU, I think it's going to be increasingly difficult to convince EU players to come over to North America.
Yeah.
Every year, it's going to be increasingly difficult unless you're just willing to offer the bank to them.
Also, I think one thing that will happen with North American franchising is salaries are not sustainable. I think North American franchises can't afford to pay these players these kind of salaries all the time, and eventually salaries will come down, and then NA will never import a great EU player again.
I think in order to solve this whole CBA checkout or import thing is I think this will never happen, but I think the contract should be incentivized, half guaranteed, half incentivized by wins. Why are the players getting paid salaries and not having performance based on this? If there's an import Korean guy on the 8th or 9th place team, what's incentivizing him to try hard? Literally, what was his name? The guy on XL right now, Mickey.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, he literally just boarded the plane and left. So, so I think there needs to be some kind of incentivization on winning, kind of like the NFL model.
Yes.
But I don't think that'll ever happen. That would take a riot, full down approach to enforce that. Because if one team does it, then no players will come play for that organization.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the way to solve it. But I doubt that'll ever happen. So unlucky.
No, I sort of agree, because the reason why I think that's a good approach is obviously, yes, players want to have more say. So, for example, the NBA is famously the league where players have the most power. They're at 49.5% of the fucking money or whatever. They're at such a great level, and they control the league. They do all the transfers. But I actually think that's a bad thing. First of all, they're ruining all these franchises that have been trying to set up the 10-year plan to get the championship. They just leave and go, I'm going to play with my mate this next year. Like Kyrie Irving, who literally said on camera, camera like, we're going to be so good next year. He's not even on the Celtics anymore. What a snitch motherfucker this guy is. Then you've got the other angle, right? Which is because they don't do the guaranteed and unguaranteed aspect like in the NFL. The NBA is infamous for players with max deals who get injured or become shit for like 3 years at the end of that deal, and they're just getting passed around for salary cap reasons and getting paid like 20 mil to not even play. Some of them famously, one of the maddest ones, that Gilbert Arenas one,
exactly.
He literally wasn't even in the NBA and he was getting paid 20 mil a year.
Wow.
It was mental. Like, what they should have, I agree. The NFL goes too far the other way because they're so scared of injuries. But I think league should be in the middle. Have it like you say. Give someone a really good base salary. And, if it's Bjergsen, maybe even put the base salary higher.
Yeah, some players,
because you don't want to have the worst team, but be paying for the highest salary.
Yeah, high-risk imports should have high-risk salaries. I think that's what Case is trying to say.
Yeah. Like some players, like Bjergsen level, he can have a full guaranteed contract, but I don't think it should be a blanket. Every player gets full guaranteed. Like some of these players need to be motivated to actually play the game. And we track all the team solo queue counts, or we at least monitor how much some teams are playing solo queue. I think Clutch Gaming played 8 games of solo queue in 3 weeks at the end of the split last year, and during spring split, it was really bad. So I just think some of these players need to actually be incentivized to try. And I think the only way to
I think another angle on it is it would even make it so that you could gamble on the player appropriately. So, for example, a player like Piglet, I would make the base salary way low, and I'd make it all in incentives. So, if he works well with his teammates, better chance of getting money. If he carries the game, better chance of getting money. And that way, if the gamble doesn't work out, fair enough, didn't lose too much. If it worked, great. We want to pay him if we get the wins. It's worth it then.
Yeah, exactly. I just think there needs to be some kind of performance incentive.
Okay. Yo, Duncan, anything final you want to hit on before we start closing out?
Just you, cute butt. I don't know. What do you want? What do you want? It's the end of the show, and it's just Rift Rivals. This whole show was 2 hours of content that was better than any of Rift Rivals. Rift Rivals is fucking garble. Get that shit out of my face. It was terrible. Who the fuck wants to watch that?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then have that game the NA versus EU Classic. It's all your favorite legendary players. Ocelot, Kobe, I'm with you. And then
Medic.
Of course, Medic. What was the point of the concept?
Yeah, those teams were definitely stacked in the. So we had Medic, he plays support. He's like Iron or something, and he's playing jungle, and he's playing against Kobe. He's Diamond 3. So of course the NA team's gonna win that.
Loco,
what?
Someone who didn't even play into season 2 is around your level in solo queue. What do you think?
I don't play that much anymore. I'm gonna be a fucking top 100 TFT player.
Oh god! I actually walked into the Fnatic room and I was like, "How you guys liking this?" By Texas.
You're getting muted, Case. Go again. You got muted for that one. I don't know.
Say that again.
Oh, I walked into the Fnatic room. I'm like, "How you guys liking the NA solo experience? Really coin flipping." He's like, "Oh, Reckless is like, oh, you mean Teamfight Tactics? Yes, it's really great."
It's gonna ruin some teams. TFT will ruin some LCS or LEC teams. We'll see. Case, any final shout out before we end out?
I just want to give a shout out to my other analysts that work underneath me. Jordy, Kappa SQ, he's really good. Super Smurf, I brought him from Fnatic to TL, and then also to Kevin, our TK.
Okay.
The other, because I don't think the analysts get enough credit, and I think that's the biggest gap. I think there's between the top analysts, there needs to be more people that choose the analyst route than the coaching. But yeah, just those two.
Okay. Well, Duncan, Case, thank you guys so much for doing the show as always. All right. I'm going to switch to the Patreon, thank you, and then I'm going to hang up. I'll see you guys later.
All right, peace.
All right, GG.
All right. Thank you so much to our Patreon for making all this happen, and thank you especially to our gold Patreon supporters, William Hishon, Tobias Bernasconi, Icelandic C9 Fan, and Butt Pounder 420. Thank you guys so much. Without your Patreon support, this show would not be possible, and I appreciate you guys so much.